All right, so this is where we left off last week.
Oh, I just threw up. Oh.
That was a really hard race last week through the volcano, and that long, drawn-out finish absolutely gutted me. Jason Stern had the kick to beat Chris Ostberg in the sprint finish and took a dirt win. I fell too far back a half mile to the finish and had to sprint from 28th up to 17th. Chris Ostberg still remained at the top of the GC standings, Jason Stern in 4th as Dirt's best placed rider, while I was back in 10th overall. The London Classique is a 3.3 mile course with only 62 feet of elevation gain per lap. With this course, you know it will come down to a bunch sprint. Similar to last week, it would require good pack positioning and not missing any gaps. Both of the long ramps on the course are guaranteed to have attacks on them through the race, and gaps will open quickly at the back of the blob. Hopefully you like these race recaps. If you do, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and help us spread the love of Zwift racing. My goal for this race was to hang on to the pack and shoot for a top 5 sprint. My second objective was to keep Jason Stern safe since he is our team's best placed overall. The start goes off like a rocket, but perhaps easier than normal. It amounted to 10 seconds holding 7 watts per kilogram, followed by 20 seconds at 5 watts, and then settling in at 4 watts per kilogram. A hard effort, but not quite as bad as many others. The start of a Zwift race is the most crucial part because riders are already spun up on their trainers, and the result is an absolute crushing from the drop of the banner. The most similar outdoor equivalent being cyclocross, but even it doesn't quite compare with the intensity of most Zwift race starts. Watching the replay, I am quite surprised at how confident I look early in the race. I've almost got a smirk on me just knowing that I feel prepared for this one. London has a lead-in of 3.8 miles, essentially one lap of the course. But it's not quite a lead-in, and the pace of the peloton is already screaming. Within that lead-in lap, I almost lost the pack 3 different times to surges and attacks. The first time we went up Northumberland, I tried to control my pace and ended up falling off the back despite holding 5 watts per kilogram up to climb. I had to finish with a quick burst to catch back on and rejoin. The second time, just a little bit later, I nearly got dropped off the pack again. This time was much worse, and we had Jason Stern back there with me as well. I had to dig deep to close this gap, not just for my chances, but for our team's GC leader as well. Stern had to sit in and trust me to get us reconnected. I put in over 9 watts per kilogram on a long pull to get us rejoined on the pack, and I was never the same after. The confidence I had shown a few minutes prior was now destroyed. I was focused squarely on survival. Recovery just didn't seem to be happening for a long time, and the pace was getting higher as I sat on wheels and suffered. I don't think I ever recovered from that pull through the rest of the race. The pack was absolutely screaming through the roads of London at speeds of 33 to 35 miles per hour and around 50 deep in the front group. As the first full lap drew to a close, I found myself dangling off the back once again. The previous effort had come at a deep cost, and I was at risk of getting dropped before the real race had even begun. I put in another dig of 7 watts per kilogram to get back into the pack. Finally, on the 3rd lap, my legs started to respond again, and I was starting to get better pack management. I'd rejoined the front of the race and moved alongside Chris Ostberg. I knew if I could just sit close to him, I could hold on to his attacks a little bit better. He has been an absolute hurricane through the first 5 races, a man on fire, with podium finishes every week and current leader of the GC competition. Unfortunately, he still had the legs to attack, and I did not. Again and again, Ostberg attacked up Northumberland, stringing the pack out and giving us the biggest scare of the race. At 12.6 miles, shortly after the top of the climb, Ostberg, Mellow Johnny, and a group of non-dirt riders caught a break off the front and took a good-sized gap. With only Tim Busick in that group, this was a serious threat to our race, with Jason Stern still back in the chase. For 2 miles, we chased on that group, gritting my teeth just to stay with the pack. Finally, we caught onto them. I couldn't let that happen again and had to stay positioned at the front of the race. I missed the previous break by just 3 riders and felt fortunate to have another opportunity. If I fell to the back of this pack again, I am going to get dropped. I have to stay on the front for every climb. With 5 miles to go, Chris Osberg was still on the front of the race, driving the pace as he pulled. A smart racer, he had attacked every time we went up the short climbs, trying to cull the weaker riders from the pack. Now, for some team tactics from Dirt. What you couldn't see so far because of my poor pack positioning is the strategy that Dirt used on this race. Knowing it would be a pack finish, we wanted to try and burn as many matches as we could off of Osberg and Mellow Johnny. We had brought 2 breakaway teams with us of 4 riders each. These 2 teams would attack off the front nearly every lap through that hairpin. With only 2.5 miles to go and less than a lap left, we hit the hairpin yet again with our group attacking the front. I thought this was brilliant because it forced Osberg and Mellow Johnny to respond. This close to the finish of the race, they could not play this safe and had to shut it down. Hopefully this would take the edge off of their final sprint. With 1 mile to go, as Osberg attacked the front yet again on the final time up this hill, I kept him close and rode his tail in second. I had the positioning in this group of 25, and I was going to be there for the final sprint. Or so I thought. Crossing under the balloon, marking half a mile to go, I was still in second. But instead of holding the pace at the front, I tried to sit in until the final sprint. I fell back, and I fell back fast, from second to 22nd, and losing my shot at the overall sprint. I dug in deep from a half mile out, desperately clawing for traction, for any power left to regain the positions I had just conceded. Ultimately, Osberg held on in the final meters, followed by the Dirt Father Jason Stern in second, and Mellow Johnny in third. My result was a 6th place finish. I would consider that a huge success considering my position going into the final sprint. Poor pack management in the final mile had killed me in the past 2 races. This race proved to me that my win in week number 1 on Box Hill was legitimate. I have the sprint to be a contender, but I've got a lot of work to do on putting myself in a position to win in that last half mile. The GC podium stays intact with Chris Osberg in first, Jason Stern in second, and Mellow Johnny in third. Chris Adlington moves to 4th, and Paul Buckland falls 1 place to 5th. Rich B, Tim Busick, Alexander Samashin, and I all stay in the top 10 for Dirt. With a 6th place finish today, I move from 10th up to 7th in the GC standings. The team standings remain the same, with Dirt firmly commanding the leaderboard. With 5 athletes in the top 10 on the GC standings, Dirt does not look like they're going to lose this lead. Paul Buckland gets a little bit of help from Bozart and Matt Kors as they hold 2nd place, and Chris Osberg does it all himself while keeping R2R Racing in 3rd. Next week should be an interesting one as we head to Richmond's UCI course for only 1 lap. This will be a brutal race of only 10 miles with 427 feet of climbing. The 3 climbs will present an entirely different race type than the past 2 crit races. Entering next week's race, preparation is key to survival. It's going to be a fast start and an even faster finish, and I hope you can join us for this next one. Hopefully you like these race recaps. If you do, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us spread the love of Zwift racing and share the message of positivity here in the Zwiftverse. Go spend your drops on a new climbing bike and meet us next week here in Richmond.